Okay, let's dive in. So picture this. You're a British schoolboy. It's wartime. You're being evacuated. And then disaster.
Right. The plane goes down.
And suddenly you're stranded on this, like, deserted tropical island with a bunch of other boys.
Sounds like an adventure story almost.
Exactly. At first glance, you think, Coral Island or something. Sun, freedom, no grown-ups. Paradise, maybe.
Uh-huh. But that's where William Golding just flips the script entirely.
He really does. His novel, Lord of the Flies,
Yeah.
it takes that setup and turns it into something, well, stark. Really unsettling.
Yeah, it's not just kids surviving.
Yeah.
It's deeper, more disturbing, a kind of thought experiment.
Like a laboratory, yeah.
Yeah.
Testing what humans are really about.
Is a perfect way to put it. Golding wasn't interested in just another adventure yarn. He wanted to know what happens when all the rules, civilization's constraints just vanish.
What comes out when there's no adult society looking over your shoulder?
Exactly. And Lord of the Flies gives a pretty brutal answer. It's a book that, it's stuck with people globally, hasn't it? Translated everywhere.
Yeah.
Still challenging readers.
Which is exactly what we're going to get into. We've got your sources here, analyses, bits from the novel, and we're really going to try and unpack it all. Explore the island setting, the boys themselves, how they try and fail to build order, that terrifying slide into savagery.
And all the symbols and allegories Golding packs in there.
Right. The mission here is to get past the surface story, Find out what makes this book so powerful, so disturbing, really. It's not just about kids on an island.
No, it's a microcosm. It holds up a mirror, doesn't it?
It really does. And where does Golding start this whole experiment? With the island itself?
Yes. The setting is absolutely crucial. It's way more than just a backdrop.
It is, isn't it? Your sources point out how, right at the start, Golding paints this picture of almost, like, breathtaking beauty.
A lush tropical paradise. You get descriptions of the whelming sea and sweet air, palm trees.
Sounds idyllic. Like, the sources mention this feeling of hope was not necessary because life just felt full initially, a perfect sort of blank slate.
But Golding doesn't let you get comfortable with that for long. Almost straight away, he hits you with the scar.
Ah, yes. The mark left by the plane crash.
Exactly. The sources describe it, the ground all torn everywhere by the upheavals of fallen trees. It's not natural. It's the wound they brought with them.
Or the wound of the world they left behind crashing into this place.
All right. It's that first sign of human impact, of destruction arriving with them, maybe even hinting at the war that forced them out in the first place.
So right away, paradise is kind of tainted, and this isolation, that's key, isn't it, for the laboratory idea?
Absolutely key. No grown-ups. That's the critical factor. They're cut off from every rules, expectations, adult authority.
It's like Golding setting up a test. Your sources say he saw it as a place where man is tested like a building material, taken into the laboratory and used to destruction.
Yeah, man isolated. It's designed to strip everything away and see what's left underneath. What's fundamental.
And the descriptions of the island actually change as the boys change, don't they?
They really do. That initial pleasant Coral Island fantasy world starts to... well, it dissolves. The beauty's still there, technically. But how they see it shifts.
So the heat becomes a blow.
Right. And the daylight isn't just for playing anymore. It's for arguments, hard work, and the darkness.
That becomes menacing.
Yeah, full of claws, full of the awful unknown and menace. The island becomes this mirror, reflecting their own internal state, their fear, their dissent.
That's incredibly powerful. The setting reflecting their own loss of innocence. Okay, so they're in this damaged paradise, this lab. What's the first impulse? What do they try to do?
Well, the human thing, right? Try to create some order. That first meeting on the beach, that's where it all starts to take shape.
With Ralph emerging, the fair boy.
Yeah, he finds the conch, seems like a natural leader, and gets chosen as chief. Although...
Ah, without a challenge, Jack steps right up.
I ought to be chief. He's got his choir, his existing authority. You see the tension right there.
But Ralph gets the vote. And he tries, doesn't he? Tries to build a little society.
He does. And that conch shell becomes the absolute symbol of that attempt.
It's a symbol of order.
And democracy, civilized talk, the rules clear. Hold the conch, you get to speak. Everyone has to listen. Where the conch is, that's a meeting.
It's their link back to, well, how things are supposed to work.
But Golding describes it as fragile and white, hinting already, this order. It can break easily.
Such a perfect image. So Ralph sets up rules meetings, shelters, and the signal fire. That's crucial.
The fire is everything for Ralph.
Right.
Rescue, hope.
And who's backing him up on the rules? Piggy.
Ah, Piggy. He's the voice of reason from the get-go. He sees the need for structure immediately. We gotta have more rules.
We are not savages, we are English.
Right. That quote really sums him up.
Right.
He's clinging to the identity, the standards they brought with them.
He's the intellect, the logic.
Absolutely. Thinking practically how to make the fire work, why shelters matter, even quoting his auntie, holding on to that adult authority figure.
But the others, they just mock him, don't they? Almost instantly.
Oh, it's brutal. Sucks to your ass, Mar. Called a fat slug. His ideas are dismissed as just talking like Piggy.
Because he's vulnerable. His glasses, his weight.
Exactly. He's physically an easy target. And your sources bring up that interesting point about his class, his accent making him an outsider.
Yeah, that suggestion of him being a Jew-like figure in some analyses. It shows how prejudice is there right from the start. He's the scapegoat.
Making him incredibly vulnerable to the group's hostility. It's quite chilling.
It really is. So this fragile order built around Ralph and the conch, it feels like it's shaky from day one because of the clash between Ralph and Jack.
Oh, completely. It's more than just personalities. It's two totally different ways of seeing things, of leading. Two models for society, really.
So Ralph's style is democratic, or trying to be.
Yeah, he tries to listen, share power, value ideas from the group. His focus is rescue, responsibility. I am chief. That means I have a responsibility. And long-term survival, building things, cooperation.
Whereas Jack
is the opposite. Autocratic, dictatorial, really. The sources say he's in complete control, makes decisions alone.
No input needed.
None. His focus is immediate. Hunting, power, control through fear and intimidation. He uses any means necessary.
He's charismatic, though, in his own way. Offers excitement, meat.
Definitely. But it's driven by that selfish desire for power. And look how his language changes. It becomes militaristic. Arnie, march, attack. It's about command.
And that creates immediate friction, right? The fire versus the hunt.
That's the core conflict. Ralph, signal fire, rescue, future, Jack. Hunting, meat, now. Civilization versus instinct?
It's the central tension. And your sources mention using Freud's ideas to look at this. The id, ego, superego.
Yes, it's a really insightful framework. In this reading, Jack is the id.
Okay, remind us what the id is again.
It's a primal part. Pure instinct, basic desires, the pleasure principle. Wants satisfaction now. Doesn't care about rules or consequences. One source says it drives us to fulfill and satisfy our desires. Impulsive, amoral.
So Jack's obsession with hunting, power. That's the id, running wild.
Exactly. Unchecked impulse.
Okay, so if Jack's the id, where does Ralph fit?
Ralph is the ego. The ego deals with reality. It tries to balance the id's demands with what's possible, what's rational. It's about managing reality, trying to establish order, work towards goals, like rescue.
It makes sense. He's trying to keep things grounded, which leaves Piggy.
Piggy is the superego, the moral compass. Internalized rules, ethics, the voice of authority, society's conscience. He's always talking about what they ought to do, what's right based on home.
For rules, his auntie.
Precisely. And the sources make that powerful argument. When Piggy is ignored, mocked, and eventually killed, that represents the superego being silenced, destroyed.
Allowing the id Jack to take over completely.
Exactly. The moral voice is gone and raw instinct reigns. It's a terrifying psychological progression.
Wow. And this isn't just psychological, it's political too, you mentioned.
Definitely. Ralph and the Cuck stand for democracy, rules, discussion for the common good. Jack represents totalitarianism, the strong leader, obedience, fear.
And Golding seems to be asking which one wins out when society structures are gone.
And his answer is pretty bleak. It's a critique of those societal structures, even touching on class, saying the British weren't immune to this sickness of authoritarianism.
Some sources even link it to Nazism, critiquing complacency.
Right. And Piggy's outsider status ties into that, how societies can turn on the different.
So you've got this leadership clash, the rules breaking down, reason being ignored, and then fear starts to creep in.
Fear is like
a
poison spreading through the group. Starts small, with the little Willen's nightmares.
The beasties, the snake thing.
Yeah, just whispers at first. Ralph tries to be rational, but it's contagious. It's this intangible thing. But as the source says, it is in every boy's head. The island stops feeling safe. Even the bright morning feels threatening.
And then this vague fear gets a focus, right? The beast from air.
Ah, the dead parachutist.
Yeah.
That's such a moment of dark, Golding-esque irony.
An adult casualty from the war, just drops onto their island.
Yeah, and the wind catching the parachute makes the body seem to move, flop, and bang. The boys find it, terrified, and think that's the beast.
The monster they feared is literally a product of the adult world's violence.
Precisely. The war that stranded them sends its dead down to them, and they mistake it for some supernatural evil. The irony is savage.
But one boy, Simon, he seems to understand something the others don't.
Simon's different. Quiet. Almost mystical. The sources call him a spiritual or prophetic figure. He retreats, thinks deeply. While everyone else is looking out there for a monster.
He starts looking in here.
Exactly. He tentatively says it at a meeting. Maybe it's only us. He has this inner vision, sees that humans are at once heroic and sick. The beast isn't an animal, it's inside them, their own darkness.
And that realization leads him to that horrific encounter with the pig's head.
The Lord of the Flies. Maybe the cruelest symbol in the book. Jack's hunters kill a sow and stick its head on a stake as an offering to the beast.
And the name itself, Lord of the Flies.
It's a translation of Beelzebub, Satan, straight into religious allegory representing evil.
And Simon has that conversation with it.
Yeah, whether it's hallucination, delirium, whatever, it's terrifyingly real for him. And the head confirms his fear, speaks with this infinite cynicism.
Fancy thinking the beast was something you could hunt and kill. You knew, didn't you? I'm part of you.
Chilling. It tells him flat out. The beast is you. It's human nature. That severed head becomes this grotesque idol to their own corruption.
That scene, it just solidifies it. The monster is us, and this internal evil, this fear, just fuels the savagery, doesn't it?
It's like pouring gasoline on the fire. The rules just crumble after that. Remember Jack shouting, "Bollocks to the rules, who cares?"
Meetings become chaos. The conch gets ignored.
Completely ignored. Broken.
Useless.
Useless.
And the signal fire, that symbol of hope.
It becomes a measure of their decline. Ralph knows, without the fire, we can't be rescued. It's their lifeline. But the hunters...
They let it go out.
To hunt.
Right, and they miss a ship. That's a huge turning point. Choosing the thrill of the hunt, the immediate reward, over rescue, over the future.
And later, fire isn't for rescue at all, is it? It's a weapon.
Used to hunt, Ralph. The symbol of hope becomes a tool of destruction.
And the hunting itself, it changes, doesn't it? It's not just for food.
No way. It becomes this ritual, this bloodlust, that chant.
Kill the pig, cut his throat, spill his blood.
It becomes their identity. And Golding shows the brutality that so killing. It's described in horrifying detail in the sources.
Sweat and noise and blood and terror. Roger prodding, Jack stabbing.
Yeah, the spear moving inch by inch, the blood spouting. It's pure, unrestrained violence. It's about shedding inhibitions, embracing the primal.
And the war paint helps with that, right?
Oh, absolutely. The paint is crucial. It's a mask. The sources say the mask compelled them.
Hides their identity. Lets them become anonymous, part of the tribe. Frees them from shame, responsibility. They're not individuals anymore. They're just hunters, capable of anything.
So you look at the big moments. Fire out, Jack splitting off, Simon's murder.
The theft of Piggy's glasses. Blinding reason.
The final hunt for Ralph. Each step is deeper into savagery. It really drives home that central theme. Civilization versus savagery.
It's the absolute core. That conflict between order, reason, Ralph, Piggy, and the pull of instinct, chaos, violence. Jack, the hunters. Golding's argument, shaped by the war, is stark. Take away civilization's restraints, and savagery emerges. That veneer is thin.
And the characters are how he shows us this, explores every facet. We should probably look closer at each of them.
Definitely. Start with Ralph, the idealist who struggles.
He's the chief, wants rescue, tries for order. His strengths are that democratic impulse, his commitment.
But he can't enforce it. He loses control. That curtain flickering in his brain shows the toll it takes. He represents good intentions, but ultimately fails and becomes the hunted, the last bit of the old ways.
And Jack, the antagonist who wins, essentially.
Yeah, he rises by playing on fear, desire, offers meat, excitement, belonging. But it's built on fear and intimidation. He starts pompous and becomes truly terrifying, using any means necessary. He's the full embrace of the primal, the dictator.
Then Piggy, the brain, the outcast.
The voice of reason, intellect, the link to adults. His glasses, quoting his auntie, but he's vulnerable, bullied, the outsider. His death.
It's devastating, along with the conch breaking.
It symbolizes the end of reason, intellect, order.
Yeah.
Murdered by pure savagery.
And Simon, he's almost otherworldly.
Yeah, the intuitive one. Sees the island's beauty, but also the truth about the beast. A spiritual or prophetic figure, the sources say.
Like a Christ figure.
Many read him that way. Cares for the lowlands, seeks truth, brings it down from the mountain, and is killed for it. A mistaken slaying, a sacrificial death by the frenzied mob who think he's the beast, the truth rejected violently.
And then there's Roger. He's something else entirely.
Roger is pure sadism unleashed. He starts quiet, furtive, still held back by the memory of rules when he throws stones to miss.
But that fades.
Completely. He becomes the torturer, the executioner, embraces pure, unadulterated cruelty, killing Piggy deliberately with that boulder. It's shocking.
And sharpening the stick at both ends.
That's terrifying. The implication, as sources note, is he was going to decapitate Ralph, mount his head like the pigs, make Ralph the new Lord of the Flies. Roger's the one ready to do it.
Chilling. And finally, Semneric, the twins.
They're the ordinary folk, aren't they? Loyal to Ralph at first, but easily pressured, captured, tortured, forced to join Jack's tribe.
They show how easily people can be swayed by power and fear.
Exactly. The vulnerability of the masses when faced with dominant force. Their fates, all their interactions. It's all Golding, illustrating his argument about human nature, about how fragile order is.
And it all feeds into the symbolism, the deeper meanings. We should revisit those symbols.
Right. The conch, we've said, starts as democracy, reason. Its shattering is the end of all that. Total collapse.
Piggy's glasses, intellect, science, broken, stolen, reason blinded, technology misused.
Yeah, fire used for cooking and destruction, not rescue.
The signal fire itself starts as hope, connection, then neglected. Then, ironically,
the huge fire to kill Ralph is what brings rescue. Destruction leading to salvation. It's deeply ironic.
The beast Lord of the Flies, the core symbol of inner evil, fear. The pig's head as Beelzebub, corruption.
The island, the microcosm, the lab, its decay mirroring their own.
Even the ocean. Indifferent, cleansing Simon's body, contrasting the brutality on land.
And all these symbols weave into the different layers of allegory. Political, democracy versus totalitarianism, class, imperialism critique.
Psychological, ego, superego, moral, loss of innocence, the thin veneer of civilization.
And Christian. Simon as Christ, the Lord of the Flies as satanic evil. They all work together to deliver Golding's complex, often dark message.
And to really get that message, you have to understand Golding's own background, right?
Absolutely. His experiences weren't just academic. Being a teacher, yes, but serving in the Navy and WWII, that was huge.
He said he saw what one man could do to another.
Exactly. Witnessing that level of cruelty firsthand just shattered any simple optimism. That catastrophe among the kids mirrors the adult war.
And Lord of the Flies was a direct response to another book.
Yes, The Coral Island by R.M. Ballantyne. Classic adventure. British boy shipwrecked, stay civilized, fight off savage natives.
Golding thought that was rubbish.
Totally unbelievable.
Yeah.
He basically said, no, the savagery comes from inside the British boys. He rewrote the narrative completely. That mention of Coral Island by the officer at the end, pure irony.
So it's a deliberate takedown of that optimistic view. What was Golding's overall philosophy then?
He called himself a universal pessimist, but a cosmic optimist. Lord of the Flies is almost pure universal pessimist.
Meaning?
Belief that the problem of evil lies in human nature, acknowledging the inhumanity he saw. The potential for darkness is inherent. The cosmic optimist part was more about a personal spiritual belief, hope beyond this world, which isn't really the focus here.
And that pessimistic focus, that's why it still hits so hard today.
I think so. It speaks to mob mentality, political conflict, the fragility of order, things we still grapple with. Sources say it helps understand human behavior and societal structures, even links to awful modern events, like kids killing kids. It's still relevant.
Which brings us to that ending, the climax and the rescue.
The climax is terrifying. Ralph, hunted like an animal by the whole tribe. They're using fire to smoke him out, destroy him.
And Roger with that stick.
Sharpened at both ends. Chilling implication. Ralph is going to be decapitated, become the next grotesque trophy, just as they're closing in.
The naval officer appears, like magic.
Right. A naval officer stood on the sand, stepping out of the adult world, the civilized world, and the fire meant to kill Ralph is what saved them all.
But the officer, he just doesn't get it, does he?
Not at all. Sees the painted savages, the spears, Ralph crying, and thinks it's fun and games, like Coral Island. He's disappointed they didn't put up a better show.
The irony is staggering.
It's immense. They're saved from their own savagery by a man from the adult world, a world engaged in a massive war. His uniform, his ship, they represent the organized violence of civilization. The boys' island is just a small-scale mirror of the adult world's own darkness and blindness.
It's a brutal commentary, saved by the source of the problem almost. And Ralph's reaction, His weeping.
It's not just relief. He weeps for the end of innocence, the darkness of man's heart, and the fall through the air of the true, wise friend called Piggy.
He's mourning everything. Innocence lost, the evil he's seen, the friends who died.
Yeah, the loss of Piggy, of Simon, the realization of what humans are capable of.
So it's a rescue, but it's not really a happy ending.
Far from it. It's ambiguous, unsettling. They leave the island, but they return to an adult world full of its own history of blood and intolerance, its own inhumanity. The experiment revealed something fundamental about them, about us, that doesn't just disappear.
Wow. So this deep dive has taken us from that initial island paradise, through the leadership battles, the fear, the descent into total savagery, the symbols, Golding's own bleak vision.
It really forces you to look at the darker side, doesn't it? Golding challenges that easy optimism about human nature. He's basically arguing that the potential for savagery is inherent, always there, just beneath the surface of civilization's rules.
Which leaves us, and you listening, with a pretty heavy question, I guess. If Golding's right, how much can we rely on society's rules to protect us from ourselves? How much is down to individual nature?
And what does that mean for our world today, where sometimes that veneer of civilization feels pretty thin indeed? A powerful thought to end on.